I'm Ron Patterson with Utah State University Extension in Carbon County. A boom sprayer is a very important tool for most farming operations. They have some very expensive tools that will have gauges on each one of your nozzles so you can tell whether or not it's spraying properly. You've got things kind of balanced out that way. But a lot of our farmers still have the old boom sprayers and they don't have that fancy equipment on there. And it's very important with the boom sprayer to make sure that you're calibrated properly. A properly calibrated boom sprayer will save you money. An improperly calibrated boom sprayer will cost you money in reduced yields or misapplication of whether it's a pesticide or a fertilizer. You want to make sure that you're applying the right amount across the width of the boom sprayer. So what I'm going to do today is show you a simple way and show you a tool that will help you to do that boom sprayer calibration. And one of the biggest disadvantages or hang-ups to calibrating a boom sprayer is the math that's involved. There are lots of formulas out there and fairly simple formulas, but every time you do it, you have to recalculate things. And it's an Excel spreadsheet that I developed that will do that math for you. So all you have to do is collect the data, enter it into the spreadsheet, and it will calculate the average nozzle volume and which nozzles might be over or under. One of the standards is that you don't want to be more than 10% over or under the average nozzle volume. Well, that's actually quite a bit of difference, 20% difference, but that's kind of a standard that we use. If you can get it closer than that, that's great. So we'll pull in here now and we'll show how that's done. Okay, now your sprayer should have a pressure gauge on it, and if you're running off from a tractor, your tractor PTOs will determine that pressure gauge. This is an ATV sprayer with a battery operation on it, so basically I just have to turn it on. When you're running your boom sprayer, you want to make sure that your pressure is where it is when you've calculated the boom sprayer. So we've checked it here. We are at 22 psi, so I will record that. I will record that number on my spreadsheet. Now I've got a spreadsheet here. This is basically the information that we would be collecting, and we'll put it into the computer. We've got the volume collected for each nozzle and the time that it took to collect that volume. And with this spreadsheet, I can do up to 20 nozzles. I put my name on there, whatever. So here I am, Patterson. And this is the ATV sprayer. I happen to have it hooked up to my pickup, but if you've got a tractor on there like a John Deere 2040 or 4020 or whatever, the date of your calibration, August 12th today. Number of nozzles tested. This one has 7 nozzles. Yeah, 7 nozzles on this boom sprayer. And then we'll need to measure the width. The width of this particular boom sprayer from the middle of one nozzle to the edge of the spray, that gives you the proper width, would be on this one 10.5 feet. I've measured that, so I know how far it is, but you need to measure from the middle of this nozzle to the end of the spray pattern, or the middle of that end nozzle out to the edge of this spray pattern, and that will give you your boom spray width, because you're going to overlap a little bit as you spray back and forth, so that will take care of that. So total boom spray width is 10.5 feet. So now we'll collect the information from each nozzle, and this spreadsheet will calculate how much product you'll be putting down per acre, and we'll do some speed calculations as well, and then you can also calculate how much of the different products you need to put into the tank to get the proper spray volume on each one. So we'll turn on the pump and do some collection here. So what you will need to do this is you got your clipboard with your paper. You need a collection cup. This is a 500 milliliter in either milliliters or ounces, and you can do this either in milliliters or ounces. And also, it's important to set your cup at the same place every time. Otherwise, if you set it here and then the next time you set it over there and you set it over there, your angle is going to be a little bit different. Might throw your readings off a little bit. So have a spot where you can set that and get your reading off every time. We've got our boom sprayer going, and we don't have chemical in there. We don't have fertilizer or anything like that. It's just water. In this case, I got a little bit of antifreeze in it so it doesn't freeze during the winter, but it's environmentally safe antifreeze, so it won't kill your dogs or pets that come and drink up the water. The other piece of equipment you'll need is a stopwatch. Most of our phones have a stopwatch on them, so I can do the collection while I am gathering my stopwatch. Make sure you know how to operate it properly. Got the start and stop button right there. So, turn this on. Get down here and stopwatch on. You can do it for as long as you want, but of course you don't want the cup to overfill. Usually about 15 to 20 seconds is adequate. It doesn't have to be the exact same amount of time with each nozzle, just a matter of getting them even here. So I've got that entered in, I'm looking at it. It's 150, 60, 70, 80. That's 180 milliliters in 18.93 seconds. Then since that's just water, I can throw that out. Okay, reset. And, whoops. Go. Okay, set it back on here. This one says 210 in 18.2 seconds. So we just keep on doing that until we've got each one of these nozzles collected. Okay, so we've got these all collected. The other measurement that we will need is how long it takes you to cover a certain distance. I have the spreadsheet calculated to 200 feet. So if we can set up a marker 200 feet apart and time how long it takes to get that sprayer from one marker to the other, we can do it that way. Other possible option is to do it with a GPS unit and just do your miles per hour. Or if you trust the speedometer on your power unit, whether it be a tractor or ATV or whatever, if you trust that speedometer on there, you could actually use that for miles per hour as well. So we can calculate our speed that way. So we will set that up real quick and do a speed test, time that to see how long it takes us to go 200 feet. So if you don't have a straight stretch where you can do 200 feet without driving in the field or something, you could cut it down to 100 feet. It'll just be more accurate to do it 200 feet. If you do it 100 feet, then you have to double the time that it takes. So you drive 100 feet and then double your time. If you drive 200 feet, you just take that straight time. The other thing that this collection method does not do is determine the evenness of your pattern. It will determine the volume between nozzles, but not the evenness of your pattern. If you have a paved area, you could take the rig and drive it down the paved area with the nozzles going and see how evenly, especially on a warm day, how evenly that will evaporate. And that'll give you a pretty good idea of the pattern. Otherwise, you have to get some sort of a pattern collection tray, and that's a bit of a headache, more than what most farmers would want to do. So I'm going to pull my rig around. We'll do this timed unit for 200 feet, and then we'll enter all the information in the computer. So of course, you're not going to use a pickup as a power unit for your spray rig. It would be an ATV or a tractor or something where you'd be a little bit easier to have a constant speed. You wouldn't want to use a pickup. I'd never recommend using a pickup because your speed's not going to be constant. Now these guys that do the roadside spraying, that's a little bit different issue, but out in the field you'll be using a power unit such as a tractor or an ATV to do that spraying. What I was showing here was how just showing how to go from one marker to the other, keeping the time. You want to start your tractor, don't want to start right at the marker, start beyond the marker and then start the stopwatch when you hit the marker, stop the stopwatch. So you want to be up to speed by the time you hit that first marker, and then you get past the second marker so that you're constant throughout, so you know what you're going to do. Another thing we want to make sure is that we've got our boom adjusted to the proper height above the crop. The manufacturer's recommendations on this one is 18 inches, so I would make sure that I've got that adjusted at the proper height. Calibrate your boom sprayer at least once a year. If you use it quite often, you probably would want to calibrate it more often than that. There are some that even say you should calibrate it with a chemical in it, but then you're spraying the chemical where you don't want it. So I don't recommend that, but you want to make sure that you calibrate that boom sprayer at the beginning of the year. And again, if you're going to be using it, if you don't use it very often, even the beginning of the year for your spring applications, if you're doing fall applications, calibrate it again. It doesn't take a long time and it can save you money. So the spreadsheet, the Excel spreadsheet is available online. Anybody can go get it at the extension.usu.edu/carbon. If you go into the small acreage or agricultural, there will be a link on there. So we'll post that up here on this video so that you can see where you need to go to get the spreadsheet. It basically looks like this, only it's on the screen. Computer. The easiest way to find the spreadsheet is to go up here, type in extension.usu.edu/carbon, and this is my Carbon County homepage. Any of these links over here on the left side, it has to do with crop production, fruit, small acreage, horticulture, agriculture. You click on any one of those and it will bring you to a page where it has crop production resources, and in this section up here will be a sprayer calibration link. That takes you to my sprayer calibration web page, and there's the regular boom sprayer calibration, and then I also created one. If you've got a large boom sprayer, you can do up to 120 nozzles on this large boom sprayer calibration spreadsheet. It's pretty bulky. If you've got a smaller boom sprayer, this other one's a lot easier to work with. But it's basically the same thing. It just has more places to put in the information on the nozzles. So you click on that and it will ask you to download a Excel spreadsheet. You open it with Excel and you say OK, and it will download that spreadsheet. So here we have, we'll close a couple of these that are in the way. Here we have the spreadsheet. The first page, you've got two pages on this spreadsheet. You've got the instructions and then the formulas. The instructions, basically the first page is telling you how to do what we just did outside. And you click on the formulas and we have our spreadsheet that we were working with the other day. It is password protected, so you can't mess up some place that has formulas in it. It won't let you do that. The only place you can enter data is on these white cells. Everything else has a gray background. One of the first things you want to do is determine your measurement unit. If you collect it in milliliters, you select milliliters. If you collect it in ounces, you select ounces. So we collected in milliliters, so we'll select that. This data is just for information. It's not critical. The name and the sprayer, although you want to know which rig it is that you did, which power unit you used to do the calibration. You want to use the same power unit when you do the actual spraying. So you don't want to calibrate it on one tractor and then change it to another tractor to do the actual spraying. You want to make sure you keep it on the same, so whether it's a John Deere, Massey Ferguson, or Cat or whatever, 4020 or whatever you happen to have. The date, so that you know when you did this. Today's the 12th of August. The pump pressure we had at 22. Nozzle type, I don't remember what the nozzle types were, but if you had that on there, so it's whatever. And now this from here on is going to affect, in addition to this milliliters, this will affect your calculations. So the number of nozzles tested on our sprayer was 7. And if you just hit tab, it'll jump from one entry field to the next entry field. So you just tab, tab, tab. total boom spray width on this one was 10.5 feet. Hit tab. You're calculated by, this is where if you want to do it by miles per hour, you could enter in miles per hour. If you want to do it by the 200-foot measurement, which we did, you'd enter in 200 feet. So you'd select one of those two options there. And then your speed measurements, we put down as 23.5. Okay, so now you see it's starting to try to calculate things out, but it doesn't have enough data. So it will think, okay, we've got something going on here, but we don't know what's going on yet. Now we enter in the information that we collected, 180, enter the volume in on this top row, the volume collected. So I'll just go across 180, 210, 190, 200, 190, 215, 210. And it's saying, you can't divide something by nothing, and so we've got to have the time in here. So it's 18.9, 18.2, 16.9, 16.4, 16.2, 16.8, and 17.2. All right, so now we've got the calculations coming in, and it is saying, it'll tell us down here the average nozzle volume was 174, and that's based on 15 seconds. So we adjusted everything to 15 seconds. 174. And then this says, okay, this nozzle average, it was 142 adjusted down to 15 seconds. It's off by 17, almost 18%. That is way, way, way off. And so that nozzle you need to look at. If it says, if it's green, the red says too low, green is good, and then this one is too high. It says 191, so it's red as well, 10.28%. So it's a little bit over that 10% range that we decided we needed to be within. So we need to go back and recalculate, clean those nozzles or replace those nozzles and regather the data. So let's assume that we did that. We went back and we recollected it, and we had 200, and it was in, oh, here, this is another thing. If it's between 5 and 10, it comes up kind of a yellow color, which is okay. It's not too bad. It's within the 10%, but it's a little bit, kind of stretching the borderline here. But let's say we did that collecting in 17 seconds. Okay, so now see we're well within our range here. And this one we replaced it. It was worn out. It was spraying too much volume here, so we replaced it with a different nozzle, and we collected, it was 195, and it was 16.5 seconds. So see, it's all done, all those calculations back over for us, and now we are well within even the 5% difference. So we are in good shape on this sprayer because we replaced those two nozzles, number 1 and number 6. The other things that we can do, that particular sprayer has a 30-gallon tank, so we enter that in. And let's say we've just got a little field that's 7.5 acres that we're spraying. Now, oh, this one says also, it says the time to travel 1 acre in minutes. It takes us about 8.12 minutes to cover an acre with this particular boom sprayer going as fast as we're going. The gallons per acre is 10.62. So if you've got a product that says it must be less than 20 gallons per acre, or it has to be over 20 gallons per acre, so that you can use this to determine I've got to make some adjustments either to my speed or to my nozzles or something. But if that falls within the parameters of the product that you're using, 10.2 gallons per acre, then you're in good shape. So we've got the size of the tank, 30 gallons, and we're going to spray 7.5 acres. So acres for this tank mix, if we mix up 30 gallons, it's going to cover 2.82 acres. So we're obviously going to have to go over and refill this a couple of times to get to where we need to be. The gallons, then the formula in this tank would be 30 gallons. We'd fill it right up. Now let's say we're using something that would require a pint of product, and a pint is A pint is how many ounces? I've got it right here. Okay, a cup is 8 ounces. Where this red triangle is, if you go and just put your cursor over the top of that, it will show you a cup is 8 ounces. If the product calls for a pint, that's 16 ounces. A quart is 32 ounces. A gallon is 128 ounces. So if it says we need to spray 1 pint per acre, that is already right there for you. So a pint per acre, we're going to be putting in 16 ounces to cover 1 acre. And so if we look at this now, the first product into the tank, then we need to put in 45.1 ounces, which is 0.35 gallons, into this tank in order to get that formulation to where it's going to spray 16 ounces per acre. If you have another product that you're adding and it's only going to be 2.5 ounces per acre, you enter that in, and that second product you're only going to put in 7 ounces into that tank, that 30-gallon tank, and that will give you that 2.5 ounces per acre. So it calculates out how many acres you can spray with that tank full, and then based on that information and the label rate, it will tell you how many ounces of that product to put into the tank. So there's how that spreadsheet works. You can go up to 20 nozzles on this one. If you wanted to do the other nozzles, I'll show you very quickly what that looks like. If we can get it to download here. Okay, Excel spreadsheet, it's right here. Again, it's got the instruction page, and then you see that it has a lot more nozzles. You can do a 5, 7, 10 nozzle sprayer on this. It's just kind of bulky or hard to get back up and down. You have to keep scrolling back up and down to get down to the bottom of the information. So if you're doing a small sprayer, use the smaller calibration spreadsheet. If you're doing a large sprayer, then we've got a big one there that will do all those nozzles.